Hey, welcome to Insights with Anika. We're so excited today for some real Elaine Armstrong, VP of Marketing for Goodwill. She is an outstanding, phenomenal woman, and I'm so excited that she agreed to be on Insights with Anika. This will be a great show.
Whether it's advice on managing your anxiety or tools to help you stay grounded, Coping 19 provides a range of resources and self-care tips to help you cope with this pandemic. We can help. Find the resources that work best for you at coping-19.org.
Good evening. I'm so excited to be back on our third episode with Insights with Anika. We have a fabulous guest this evening. I'm so honored to have my friend, Elaine Armstrong, the Vice President of Goodwill at the corporate office. Welcome, Elaine.
Thank you so much for having me, Anika. It's a pleasure to be here.
I am so excited to see you. I know we're virtual because of COVID. We're trying to be COVID safe and COVID friendly. But I'm giving you air hugs. I miss you.
That's right. Back to you. Back to you. It's been so long since we've seen each other. But this is great because I'm excited to chat with you for a little bit today. This is awesome.
Absolutely. I remember when I first met you. So just to kind of rewind back a little bit. So Insights with Anika is all about women of empowerment, women of influence, right? And when I first met you, it was at March of Dimes. You was an award recipient. And when you got up and you told your story and we learned so much about you, I was like, man, I was so influenced and empowered just from meeting you from your speech that day. So, and then when I got an opportunity to see you afterwards and introduce myself, you were so kind, so nice, so welcoming, wanted to help any way that you can. So this is what I want on the show, for women to see that women do empower and inspire other women. Absolutely. So with that being said, here at Insight, we want you to give us insight of who you are and who you're called to be. So tell us, who is Elaine?
Yeah, so thank you for that, and for the kind words. I'm so appreciative of the recognition from March of Dimes. It was totally unexpected, but just the fact that there was a group of women who were inspiring each other. I mean, I was inspired by everyone who won an award that day, but thank you for saying that. But yeah, so a little bit about me. As you alluded to in the introduction, I serve as Vice President of Marketing for Goodwill of North Georgia. I've been at Goodwill for 15 years, but my professional background is in communications. So I went to the University of Georgia and had a journalism degree. So I actually started off as a journalist, and then went to work at nonprofit at Goodwill and worked my way up. So that's a little bit about me professionally. I have, been afforded so many opportunities for leadership and for growth at Goodwill that has inspired me to do work and collaborate with other nonprofit organizations outside of my role. So I've done some volunteer work with March of Dimes, how I got connected there, but I also do some work with the DeKalb Chamber and the Atlanta Business League, supporting small businesses and Black businesses, particularly with the Atlanta Business League. Do some work with a small nonprofit that's starting up that's near and dear to my heart, called Angel Eyes Fitness and Nutrition, where we help blind and visually impaired people work out and get their nutrition on track. And so, so fitness is super important to me. And so that's one of the things that I have an opportunity to do. And then joined the board of Agape Atlanta, where we're helping youth. And so, a lot of the opportunities that I've had have really been because of my experience at Goodwill and just having great leaders and being inspired by great leaders. But personally, I said, fitness is near and dear to my heart. I teach fitness on the side, so a little bit of a fitness professional, but I'm probably more of an enthusiast than a professional. I don't teach as much as I'd like to, but that's just because of timing. I'm a single mom, so I have a 23-year-old who is, I guess people always say she's following in
I'm
my
a
footsteps.
3-year-old.
I do. I'm a 23-year-old.
Wow.
She is she graduated from Kennesaw State with a marketing major. So
Oh,
go
that's
figure that. She's in advertising, and so she works for an agency here in town, and she gets to work from home because she started last year during COVID. So it's interesting to see her journey and how she is developing. But that's a little bit about me in a nutshell. I grew up in California, been in Georgia longer than I was there, so I guess I should claim Georgia as hometown,
you're a
but most of
peach
my
now.
family is still there. Yeah, I'm a peach now. I'm official. But
Right.
yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I just, I love nonprofits, love the work that I do, love marketing communications. And if I can do that and make a living and inspire people and give back in a meaningful way, then everything sort of works out for me. So
That's outstanding. Well, that's what this show is about this evening, I'm sorry, is about community ties, being involved in the community. How can we get more women of influence involved in the community? I think there's some of the gaps there. Um, what would be some of your recommendations, or what would you suggest on how to get more women of empowerment, influence involved in the community?
yeah, so great question. Women, and particularly now, since this is International or Women's History Month, we're going to be coming up on International Women's Day, and then we've heard a lot, particularly because Goodwill. Everyone knows us for donations in the stores, but a lot of people don't know about what we do, and that's really the stores are a means to an end to fund that. We exist to help people find jobs. And so a lot of our attention now has been on the way that the job market is. And a lot of women are being shut out of it because of the pandemic. Women are primary caregivers. We have a lot on our shoulders. We not only are taking care of kids, we're taking care of the home, we're, taking care of parents sometimes, and we have aging parents. And so there are a lot of demands on that, which unfortunately, now that we're seeing jobs away, we're seeing women out of jobs, which and even taking my story, that was how I got to the ability to be able to give back and volunteer and get involved with these other organizations. Because of the leadership that I had within my role, I was exposed to these other opportunities to give back. So not being in the job market, but then also, if you're at home and you're taking care of kids or kids that are going to school online, you're not networking, you're not out there. And so I think those are definite ways where women can do that. I don't think that there's probably women, we're caring, we're giving in our nature. And so I think there's inherently, we want to be able to do that. I think it's in creating the space to do it. So employers thinking through giving opportunities for your women to have the women that you work at your team opportunities to do that, giving them a voice, making sure that they have opportunities. And I've been blessed that the leaders that I've worked for have actually encouraged me to do that and say, hey, great, you should serve on this board, or maybe you should check into this organization for leadership. And so that's one way to do that. The other, I think, is we who are already in and giving back, inviting other people to the table. When you meet someone else, say, hey, I might be rolling off of this board seat, or I might be rolling off of this volunteer opportunity, but I know a great woman who could take my place, and making sure that you provide those pathways for that.
I know we're in a different environment now with COVID, and COVID hasn't made it easy for any of us with volunteering, getting involved. But still, we want to know, A, how do more women get involved? But B, what are some of the organizations that you see women of influence gravitate towards?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So good question. Like I said, we serve lots of people at Goodwill of North Georgia. The pandemic has changed the game because it's not just women that we're seeing sort of out of the workforce, but by and large, mostly traffic is down. And we're hoping, obviously, with the pandemic, things will turn around, particularly for women. But I do see women gravitate to lots of different organizations. Where we don't see a lot of representation, though, is in organizations that are traditionally dominated by men. So there are lots of opportunities for women to get involved in IT, in higher sort of corporate spaces where we don't see them. Think of non-traditional jobs and organizations for women. And I think that's where we really need to see women. We really need to. So when we talk about our youth and our young girls and getting them involved in STEM and programs that are getting them into the sciences and math. We have some programs at Goodwill of North Georgia that are geared toward IT, and it's great. We have a couple of success stories of young women who have graduated and gone on to work at Accenture and companies
That's awesome.
like that they're really going into fields, that are traditionally and are still mostly dominated by women, by men, but women are coming along. And so sometimes we got to think outside of the box, right? So
Absolutely.
we got so many spaces where women are filling those roles, but primarily where we're not, we need to think differently and thinking about how we get a seat at the table. Diversity and diverse thinking is always going to be better when you have the right people there. And the way that organizations are now getting it, 2020 has really shined a light on the fact that we need to have diversity, but we need to also have equity. And that's one of the things. You can have women in your organization, you can have women on your boards, but if you're not hearing their voice equally or not giving them that equal level of respect, then it's for naught. So I definitely encourage women to think about spaces that they haven't been, or if there isn't one and there's not one that is either accepting of you, or you can't find one to get in, create your own. We're so good at doing that. We got to create our own stuff sometimes.
That's exactly right. You're absolutely right. You just gave us a great nugget right there, but we have to go to a break, and then we will come back with the fabulous Elaine Armstrong to hear more about her fabulous just life stuff. So we'll come right back. Thank you. Stay tuned. Insights.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, you just look at that. It's so sad.
Welcome back to Insights with Anika. We're back with Elaine Armstrong. So we got to hear a lot about you, your work, and all the good work that you're doing in the community, which I am so, so, so proud. And also you gave us a lot of good nuggets for women. I don't want people just to think that just because we are in this pandemic, that they can't still be involved, giving back, being involved in the community, because that's how we influence. That's how we bring up the next generation. I want people to remember those things. But I want to you spoke about this earlier about you in fitness.
Yeah.
So we got to talk about some self-care here,
Yes.
because that's important as well while you're involved in the community ties. So tell us all about your fitness journey, and also about the organization that you're a part of.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was never an athlete in school. I mean, well, technically, I did play basketball in middle school, but I was never any good, so this doesn't count. But and I'm short. I'm 5 feet, so there's that. That was not the sport for me. But I did take up fitness probably about 4 or 5 years ago, just as a way to get my body in shape, to start moving around, and found that I really, really loved it. I started going to a small studio where I quickly became friends with the owner, and I was there every day. I was working out and taking classes every day, and she said, "Well, don't you want to teach fitness and be certified?" And I was like, "No, I don't know what I'm doing." And she's like, "Oh, you'll be fine. You're in here every day. You can do this." And that's literally how I started getting certifications and started teaching classes. So I owe all of that. And her name is Dawn Wells. And she also she's the founder of Angel Eyes Fitness and Nutrition. And the way that she got into that was that, someone had asked her to fill in for a Zumba class one day. And she's like, "Great, I can do that with just with my eyes closed." no pun intended. Unfortunately, what happened is she went to the class and all of the participants were blind and she did not know. And she's like, I'm not sure what to do with this. But she was so inspired to figure it out that she did, and she figured out how to teach them, and started doing it on a volunteer basis for many years. And then a couple of years ago said, I need to take this to the next level because I really want to help. And I was inspired by that, so I joined the board. I do a lot to support that organization. It's a small nonprofit that's really trying to do, and there's not organizations that are doing that. There's not people who focus on, fitness and nutrition for people, particularly who, don't have vision like us or can't see. And so, but on the flip side of that, if you don't take care of your fitness on the front end, you can lose your vision. And so that's one of the things, particularly in the African American community, where there's high prevalence of diabetes, and that's one of the effects of that. So, taking care of people on the front end and the back end so that they don't have to lose their vision or worse. And a lot of times the folks that we serve have comorbidities. So they're not just, they don't have their sight, they also are suffering with something else. And so anyway, it's great to be able to do that. Amazing. Yeah, it's an amazing organization. But personally, I'm one of those people who likes to be challenged. And so I will try any type of fitness stuff once. I know which things I like and which ones I don't. I'm not a spin person, but you give me push-ups, I'm good to go. I don't like to run, but I'll force myself to do it. So I say this to women, and to anybody listening. Fitness for me is it's a part of how I stay sane. Some people enjoy cooking. Some people enjoy gardening. Working out is where I get my stress. It's a relief for me, and challenging myself. But I also get the benefit of being healthy and eating well. It just makes me feel better. And so I say, find what works for you. You can scroll your Instagram feed and Facebook and find all kinds of fitness professionals. And people say, some days I don't like to work out. So doing push-ups and sit-ups is probably not the funnest thing when you think about doing it, but when you're actively doing it, that may be different. And so I just say, find whatever fitness thing is for you. But I highly encourage women, because we've got so many other things on our plate, and the most thing that we neglect is ourselves. And is one thing that you can do for you. You can say everything else is for somebody else, but when you talk about getting an education, when you talk about taking care of your health and your well-being, that's for you. And it affects everybody else. So when you're well, everybody around you can benefit from that and can see that, particularly your children, if they're watching and they see you doing that, then they get those things. It's like, hey, mommy worked out, mommy ate well, then, I want to follow in her footsteps. So super important for our generations to come.
Well, that was a message for me, number one. Look, I'm starting to work out once a week. I got to increase it. So you have certainly made me feel bad enough that I need to increase it. but you're right though. Although I do it once a week, also started about 5 months ago, started to play tennis.
Yes.
And that was one thing I said I wanted to pick up for myself and say, you know what, I want to do something that I've always wanted to do. I'm gonna make time to do it. I'm doing it with my 6-year-old daughter, something that we can do together. But it also gives me the opportunity to burn off that steam, think about something else, and then feel good about it. So you're right, I encourage that, but I am so excited about that organization and what you're doing for those people that are blind and, just taking care of them. Can you tell everyone about that organization and where it's located? Because I think that's important.
Yes, absolutely. So Angel Eyes Fitness and Nutrition. We are right now, we can offer classes online, but based out of Covington, Georgia. So that's where the studio, Don Wells Fitness Studio is. But but we offer classes through Zoom. In fact, I've actually had the pleasure of teaching a couple of classes for Angel Eyes where I had students who were in Houston who were logging in and watching. So we can serve anybody anywhere, but Angel Eyes Fitness and Nutrition, you can find them on Facebook, on Instagram. That's the website, angeleyesfitnessandnutrition.org. You can go onto the website and learn more. But we'd recommend people, if you know individuals who could use it, who could use our services, even if they just have a visual impairment, don't have to be blind. And we also need volunteers. So we do have, right now we're not doing very many classes that are in person because of the pandemic, but when things are over, we will do some satellite classes where we'll have folks in person, and we need people who can be spotters. So if you think about it, you have a class and you have a room where you have, 10 people who are working out, but you need to tell them, hey, I need you to move to your left, take 2 steps. Yep. Well, your 2 steps are going to be different from my 2 steps, but to prevent people from bumping into each other or harming themselves, we do have guides that will work out alongside them just to make sure that everything is safe and they stay safe and remain safe. So lots of opportunities to help out there, but definitely Angel Eyes Fitness and Nutrition.
I love it. And look, right here from the show, there's a volunteer opportunity, guys. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
You answer, what's interesting is in our interview, I had all these questions pre-planned. You answered almost all of them just during conversation. But I do want to talk about one last thing, which is about mentorship. And I know that you are involved actively with college students in mentorship. Mm-hmm. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Because again, with Insights with Anika, although this is about women, influence, and empowerment, but this is also a platform to serve as a mentorship just to women. We don't have enough of that. So can you talk to us a little bit about your mentorship involvement?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, I started as a journalist and then started doing PR, and then that's how I got into the marketing side. But I was noticing that, particularly for, because I worked at a nonprofit, particularly for folks coming out of school, we didn't hear a lot about jobs at nonprofits. And I have been so honored to work at a nonprofit. And I tell people this all the time, I'll probably never go to for-profit again because my heart is with nonprofits. But, people always hear the things, well, nonprofits don't make a lot of money. They don't have, people that work there don't make a lot of money, or you're going to be doing twice as much work. In some cases that may be true, but the work is also rewarding. And so, but I have bills to pay. I make a salary, and so I think there are good opportunities for women to work in nonprofits, and the nonprofit world is heavily dominated. But when it comes to marketing professionals and communications professionals, I wanted people to be able to, particularly young people, to hear about other pathways. They hear a lot about going to advertising agencies or PR agencies, and those are great. Don't get me wrong. They will cut your teeth in the industry. They will give you a great leg up. But if that's not for you and your heart is more so, hey, I want to do something that I make a direct impact, or I want to work at an organization that I can directly see the benefit of some type of mission that I care about, check out a nonprofit. And so that's where I have been. Anytime I'm asked to be on a panel or anything, and I've had a lot of great opportunities to go speak at organizations or back at University of Georgia, and I will invite anybody to job shadow me and say, hey, you want to spend time with me and my team for the day, see about what our jobs are. But I've been able to do that, and usually last year everything was different, but usually we'll have about half a dozen or so students to come in, college students, and shadow us. I started an internship program at Goodwill for marketing communications. So we have that, and I want to make sure, again, we create a pathway for not only individuals who want to go into marketing communications, but marketing communications with a nonprofit focus. And then the other thing is, like I said, I joined the board of Agape, and that's where we serve younger youth. And I'm hoping to be able to use my board involvement there to be able to talk to younger students about, marketing and communications or journalism or even nonprofits, because the work that nonprofits do keep our world turning around. If you think about it, you go to church, it's a nonprofit. You went to it's a nonprofit. You go to the library, if you go to an organization, like if you go to an art gallery, it's going to be a nonprofit. If you go to a hospital, it's probably going to be a nonprofit. They're all different nonprofits. If you think about it, they're all nonprofits. And if you took away the work of the people who serve the homeless, if you took away the work of the people who are serving people who are blind and visually impaired, or people who are hungry, who else would be doing that work?
That's right.
So we need our nonprofit community. It's rich in Atlanta. We're fortunate that we have so many great ones. But that's really, you can probably hear my passion about it, but that's really what my mentorship sort of focuses around, just telling people that the opportunities are there and giving them a chance to see it, because you don't always hear about it. You always hear about the big brands and going to big companies. And those are awesome. We need people to do that, but we also need people to work where they're doing direct service to people who are in need.
Yep. Well, you know what? You gave us a wealth of information. And yes, I can definitely hear your excitement as it relates to nonprofit, but you're right. It's important. It's key. It's part of what makes us go around. So we can never discredit that. So I want to thank you so much for being a part of this brand new podcast, for you being an amazing guest, for you giving us so much information, because that workout session that you're talking about, and as far as the organization, I do want people to look into that and also really think about volunteering, because that's also some good work. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. I can't wait until we can get back in an environment where we can go to lunch again. I can't wait to see you. But
yes.
I'm giving
and thank you. I just want to say thank you for starting this podcast. This is what you're doing is super important. I just appreciate the work that you're doing. I want to make sure that people congratulate you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. So I'm giving you another air hug.
That's right.
Listen to me. This will not be our last time talking on the podcast. So guys, before we go, tell them where they can also follow you on social media as it relates to the workout and any information as it relates to Goodwill, if you don't mind sharing that. And also, yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Elaine Armstrong. I don't have anything fancy on my social media. I guess that's where I fell off on my creativity. So you can find me, Elaine Armstrong, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. That's where I am. But Goodwill of North Georgia. So Goodwill of North Georgia on Facebook, Goodwill _NG on Instagram. Please follow us. We're also on LinkedIn, where we highlight a lot of our employees there. So it's a great opportunity to follow there. And of course, any of the organizations that I mentioned today, please check them out. They're all nonprofits doing great work. So I'd love for you to follow them as well.
Thank you. Thank you again. We're going to go back to a commercial break. Insights with Anika.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
Si los amas como para reaprender ecuaciones, para poder enseñárselas, entonces los amas como para visitar nhtsa.gov/protegidos y comprobar que van correctamente abrochados en el asiento trasero del auto.
I have no idea how we get so blessed to have such amazing guests, but we ended another night with an amazing guest, Elaine Armstrong. Tune in to next week. You don't want to miss it, because as I said last week, it gets better and better. Stay tuned. Every Tuesday, 7:00 p.m., KBCN. Be safe. Anika Inman.
Every day the unstoppable, do the impossible. We the undeniable, royalty indefinable. Don't need the perfect day for my victory to be had. The rain is just clearing my path. We roll on.